Hey guys, happy Wednesday. It's late in the day for Ted, right? This is the Dan Show. I mean, the Ted Show. Happy Wednesday, September 18, 2019. Super excited. We're 3 for 3 today. I have my very, very great friend, Dan Entwistle, on the show. Did I say that right? Right?
Yep, perfect.
Okay, so Dan has an amazing accent, which you'll hear in a minute, but let us know you can hear us and see us, because that's the most important thing. What's up, Jose? How you doing, buddy? Mike, I can't call you Mike. I have to call you your other name. Jack Luis, what's up? Give us a heart or a thumbs up. Oh, I forgot to tell you, you're going to see all of that come down, but they can't see it. So hopefully there's nothing bad on it. Jeff, what's up? How's the meatball shop? So you can see and hear us. Thank you, Monica Garcia. Love you to pieces.
But can you understand me with the accent, Monica?
We're not sure yet, but we're going to try.
I can hear it, but do you understand me?
So Dan is an old friend. He's got that left brain that I don't have. Isn't that the one with, thank you very much. Isn't, Monica, it's the one that's way over my little head. I barely have a right brain, let alone a left brain. But the accent's great. Welcome to the show, buddy.
Thank you. It's great to be here, and thank you for having us on.
Of course.
And
I'm
before
excited.
we start, I should say thank you to Derek and your team for helping to schedule. It's probably easier to get Oprah Winfrey on than it's been to get me locked in for the show.
Oh, nice. You're going to throw shade.
So now, I really,
very nice.
So I appreciate it.
All
so
right, I
thank
know
you.
where we're at now. Yeah, Derek's amazing, and everybody. I mean, it takes a village to take care of Ted. We all know it. So we got to have a lot of help. So Dan does some cool stuff that I still don't understand, but I want him to talk about his journey, and maybe I'm going to understand it by the end of the show. But I love the accent, his personality, his demeanor. He's been a fellow club member for a while, and he just really engages people. It's great not only to listen to him, but to watch him interact with other people, and especially in his industry, which he'll tell you about. So, all right, so everybody wants origin story. They want to know a little bit about Dan.
Sure.
They know you're not from Orlando. So talk a little bit about your background and where you're from.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Ted. So as you can tell by the accent, clearly not from Florida, originally from Texas. So yeah. Just
Nice.
Just kidding.
Throwing the jokes
But,
out. It's definitely the Dan show now. It's all right. We're good.
But seriously, I always say to people when I meet them, don't be fooled by the British accent anymore. I am 100% Floridian. In fact, I remember last year I was in New York doing some work, and I got to the hotel room and it was Christmas time, and it was freezing. So I was trying to turn the thermostat up, and it was stuck at 80 degrees. And I was like, do I need to call maintenance? I need this room to be at 86. But yeah, so as you can tell by the accent, originally from the UK, moved out to the US in 2016.
Why? Why did you move to the US?
It's a good question, actually. Maybe I'll come on to that later on as well, a little bit.
Oh, I forgot. You can't see the encyclopedia set of notes that he has.
I like to be prepared.
Oh, I'd be prepared. Good luck.
But no,
I'll
answer the question now. I moved here actually because I've always believed still in the American dream. I think actually quite topical given it was in the past week or so. I remember being out in the Caribbean when September 11th took place, so I hadn't moved here at that time, and I remember coming out in the morning and just seeing the impact that it had had on the people. They couldn't get back, they couldn't get hold of people, and that's where I really started to build relationships and learn more about the country, the culture and the togetherness. So I spent the last decade coming here, sometimes for work, sometimes for vacation as well, but I'd always had this ambition to come here and almost chase my own American dream here in the US.
Love that. You didn't call it holiday, though.
Yeah, no.
Very
Fully
good. I was waiting for holiday.
Yeah.
All right, so but you come here. What did you do in England? What were you studying to be? Did you work? 2016 is only a few years ago. You said 2016, right?
Yeah. So overview of the backstory. I did over a decade in financial services. Worked for some interesting banks across the UK. Did a number of different roles in banking as well. So I looked after a team of around 1,000. They were great people back in around sort of the early 2000s that I worked with. I was also director of customer experience for the bank for a period of time. That was around 2008. I think that's when my hair started to go a little bit thin after
That'll get you, brother.
That big recession time, yeah. And I also did a director of transformational change. So I learned a lot of my craft over a decade or so.
Director of transformational change. Is this in the customer service arena? And what did you do for that?
Yeah, well, that was more about running a fairly large, sort of $500 million cost-saving program, where it wasn't just myself. There was a great team involved, and it was all about, after 2008, how we could be more efficient. There was a merging of another bank, and some of a big change stuff around IT that needed to be landed.
Did you always work in finance? Like that was your goal?
Pretty much, yeah. I actually started out in the travel industry. So when I was very young, I started off what we call apprenticeships, almost like an intern. And I stayed in the travel industry for a couple of years. I won a couple of awards when I was relatively young, sort of 18, 19-year-old. And I actually sold a vacation to one of the local bank managers, and she was that impressed with the service, she offered me a job, and that's where my career in banking took off.
How cool was that?
So I went from right on the counters and dealing with the cash as a teller, all the way through to some director-sized jobs.
I love that. So that was somebody who changed. We talk about it on the show a lot.
Mm-hmm.
They changed the path, the trajectory of your life, because you were so good at the job you were doing that they thought, you know what, Dan, you could do really good in banking. And so had you had an interest before, or was that a brand new world for you?
It was a brand new world, yeah. It was a brand new world. We had some ongoing conversations so I could understand, what that career could look like and where it could lead to. But it was just too good an opportunity at the time to say no to, so I grabbed it with both hands. Did some ongoing qualifications whilst learning the different roles within banking at the same time as well, which then led to me doing the roles I did before I then transitioned into consulting. All
right, so let's talk about the transition into consulting. Yeah. All right, so when I met you, are you in the, remember I do no research, are you in the same position when I first met you?
Yes.
Okay, so talk about that. You have been very gracious in trying to explain it to my little brain, because I think what you do is incredibly cool from what I can gather, but certainly for my brain complicated. And I'm assuming that your finance background helped you get to that, to be able to do all of that, but also your personality. I mean, you cannot do what you're doing, I think, and not have a fun, kind of cool personality. So you get into consulting, and what does that look like?
Yeah, so
banking is very structured, right?
It is, yeah. So it's a lot more variety. One day is always different from the next. So I transitioned from banking into consulting. So we've got an office in the UK, and I launched our first US office here in 2016. Sometimes people ask me, let me give you a bit of that story as well. Why did we choose Florida? And I'm almost like, do you want the rational reasons or the emotional reasons?
We want both. What are the emotional reasons?
The climate, the beaches, great people. But also, when we looked at it rationally as well, I already knew the area quite well. Forbes had rated it as one of the fastest growing economies right here in Orlando. Great airport, great local business community. I feel like I should be an advert for the Orlando Economic Partnership. Community. So there's a lot of compelling reasons, both rationally and emotionally. No state tax, but in particular the people around Orlando as well, and just how welcoming they'd always made us feel. So that was why we chose Orlando. But yeah, like I said, so the business has been going since around 2008, 2009.
And what is it? So try to explain it, and then I'm hoping that when the audience hears it, later on after the show, they're going to explain it to me.
Okay. So we have two core practices as a consulting business. So we have our change function and we have our learning capability function. So basically we have two core practices. Now under change, that's quite varied. We do a lot of culture change programs.
Culture change?
Yeah, so to give you an example, last year we designed, built and rolled out a diversity and inclusion strategic program for one of the world's largest real estate organizations. So they're a big player. They're here in the US, but they are global. So we do big cultural change programs, project management.
I'm fascinated by that. Can I go? So I know you have this. You have this, but I want to ask
that's
questions.
Gone. Yeah,
I blew that right out of the water.
So
we've
got two practices.
We got two.
Change and leadership. Yeah,
but let's talk about that, because diversity is such a big buzzword, and it's an important word. I think it's super important. Inclusion, diversity.
Yeah.
So what does that look like? How do you create for that large of an organization a diversity program? What does that look like?
Yeah, so it's a great question, and actually we're not a cookie cutter sort of organisation now. We kind of have a process that we take people through, but everything we do is still customised, because as we talk about no individual being the same, no organisation is the same as well. Now we have a generic flavour of how we can approach it around. We'll do a diagnostic so we can ensure the programme is sort of data driven. That just baselines where the organisation and individuals are now. Then we'll do some recommendations off that. And then we almost look at it through this lens, especially for diversity and inclusion, of what do we need to really do with the workforce, the workplace, and therefore also the impact we have in the marketplace.
Sure.
Because if you only focus on one of those, you won't move the dial just as much.
Correct.
And that links back to our whole mission, really, about empowering potential. It's almost how do we unbox others so that they're not boxed in, so that they can achieve more than what they thought was possible.
Was the company, so I'm fascinated, so the company comes to you and says, we need help.
Yeah.
I love any company that's forward thinking enough to say, all right, we need to figure out how to be have a diversity and inclusion as part of our overall plan, our overall business, because I think a lot of people speak that, talk the talk, but they don't walk the walk. And so how awesome to have that created. What kind of things did you do? You know, Orlando, as you know, big diversity, big inclusion,
Absolutely.
everything here. I mean, if you don't pay attention to anything, you must be seeing those words all the time when it comes to anything Orlando, Orange County, Central Florida. So what did you do? What I know you can't tell us what do you create? Like, how do you get a large organization like that and be able to create a program that's going to make the impact all the way down to the very, very person that's not up at the top, maybe down here.
So one of the biggest things we'll do is we'll hold ourselves accountable first of all, but we'll also hold our clients accountable at the same time. You know, they're paying us to get a good service and to create the right value. So we won't just come in and be the yes sort of people. We will put, including senior executives, you know, of major Fortune 100 companies, will put their feet to the fire as well.
Good.
You know, because it has to be owned at every level, but you know, quite often it needs to be driven from that level, or the initial conversation. At least does. So we'll do some stuff from that perspective. We'll also look at how do we start to shift some of the mindset. So we're not necessarily saying we're going to try and change people, but at least try and make you more aware of how you're showing up and how that might impact others and what you can maybe do to be more inclusive as well. But then it's not just about the people, you've got to create the right environment. So what are the processes and the policies, and what does some of that look like, which will enable us to accelerate some of that change? And therefore just make sure that you get 100% of everybody who, you know, showing up and
I love the accountability. Monica asked a question. I'm going to try to rephrase it because it's already passed. But you basically take and show the company how to get to the next level, and maybe they had an idea for you, but you're really trying to help them implement the vision.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll often find people don't either have the capability or the capacity to achieve where they want to get to next. So we'll come in and we'll help with that. And there's three things that we, like I said, we hold ourselves accountable to, which is people first, keep it real, and make it simple. Nice. So because we really hold ourselves accountable, internally we call them brand promises, but it's far more than that to us. It's a way of doing, being, and showing up with each other as a team and with our clients. So keep it first, make it simple, and also keeping it real for the people.
I love that. And so I think anytime I've done consulting, and I've never done it on that large of a level, my first question always is to them, are you really ready to hear the things that you aren't ready to hear? Because basically you come in and what happens is they want you to do something, but remember they have an idea of they want you to do it as the consultant, but they want you to do it in the way that they want you to do it. And so if you're a true consultant and true to your craft and true to what you want to do, and you really do want to help them make it to the next level, you cannot kowtow to that. You can't give in to that. And so if you don't have an upper management that's committed to that process, it can be a super bad experience. And you have to be able to have, oh God, the chutzpah. You have to be able to do that and push back, because these managers want you to come in because they have a vision, and sometimes their vision isn't necessarily the best for the company, and maybe sometimes they're not part of the best vision either.
Yeah. And we'll have those open and honest conversations, and we'll do it tactfully though, because our ultimate driver here is to think about what is the outcome, what is the shift you're trying to achieve. But not only that, how is it sustained once we've moved back out of the organisation as well, which is equally as important.
So Robert says, hey Daniel, Robert McCracken.
Oh, Rob McCracken, he's one of my co-workers back in the UK.
There he is.
I
want to hear him say Rob McCracken.
Yeah, we have such a great team of A-star players, and I would work with Rob McCracken on any client, anywhere. We are very blessed to have some great individuals working for us.
I love that. So how do you identify, or how do people reach out to you? Like are you only mid-sized? I mean, I'm fascinated by the whole process because I've done consulting before. Not on this level. Yeah. So I love to hear stories about how you define who your target is, who you'll accept as a client, who you won't.
Okay. Yeah, so if I just backtrack a little bit, just very quickly. So going back to what we do, I said we have the 2 core practices. So we do.
He's good. He's good at what he does.
So we do the change piece around big culture change, project management, business transformation, and such. And then under the people side is where we do anything from team retreats, communication, executive coaching, and leadership sort of development programs. And again, the size and scale really varies. So we tend to find we're sort of industry agnostic, because a lot of the challenges we're trying to solve come from humans, right? You know, most challenges when we boil it down come from that space of humans, and how can we therefore shift that human interaction or potential to resolve the challenges or capitalize on the opportunities. So industry agnostic, it's varied. We've got some amazing clients locally here in Florida, Orange County Public Schools, Rollins. We've done some stuff with Tupperware, Universal, Shepherd. Yeah. So it's a mixture of non-profits all the way through to some bigger organizations. But a lot of what we do, when we first moved here in 2016, you know, you're out there attending industry events and just raising awareness. We're very fortunate now that a lot of the work that we do is just from building great trusted relationships.
Yeah.
So it's one thing talking a good game, but you've got to deliver value. But it's that real part of relationships. You've really got to put people first, going back to one of the core things that we focus on.
And you do that. So what I see, and I can't believe it's only been 3 years. I thought I'd known you a whole lot longer than that. Right? Yeah. What I see Dan doing every day at the club is having one-on-ones. It's like, to me it looks like a counseling session. I know that's not it. It's like a consulting session, but similar. And then you are really engaging and listening and talking to a wide variety of people. And I guess that's what you have to do as part of your intake, as part of your relationship development. I mean, you've got to get to the level where people trust you in order to trust you with their company and with their employees and with what they want to try to accomplish.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, I don't think there's a bigger privilege than getting to work with organizations, especially when you're working with executive leadership teams. I mean, we've done stuff with the CIA, the FBI, NASA, you know, some really big organizations.
Don't mess with Dan.
Yeah, I know people. In fact, they're probably watching us now, Ted.
They've been watching me for a very long time.
I've not worked with anybody anywhere. I don't know nothing.
Nothing.
But I don't think there's a bigger privilege or a bigger honor for us to do that. So it does come from the relationship. You've got to be able to build the trust, but you've got to deliver the value at the same time as well.
Luke is watching.
That's my brother.
It's your brother.
He has one of those jobs that I can't tell you what he does as well.
Hi, Luke.
He's back maybe in the UK, or he could be in the Far East or the Middle East.
But, he's got one of those jobs. But just remember, I'm a good guy, Luke.
But yeah, I mean, it is. But it is. It's such a privilege to work with executive leadership teams to help them kick on to the next level, or organisations, or any individual to just help them, you know, get further than they believe they could do. And I think Monica made a good point. I just saw a comment come up about, you know, it's about being outside of the box.
Yes.
And funnily enough, you know, we do some fun and interactive workshops. It's not all serious strategy planning all the time. So I brought a little prop today. I don't know if you can see this, but it's basically just a small empty box. And we sometimes use this as a metaphor to say to people, you know, don't let anybody put you in a box, you know, whether it's ageism, whether it's gender, whether it's race, you know, and we seal these boxes when we give them out. And we say it's empty, purposely. Don't let anybody ever break the seal. Don't let anybody ever tell you what you can or can't achieve and limit your potential. Don't let their reality be your reality, or their perception be your reality.
I love that.
So we do a lot around unboxing yourself and empowering you to go and be the person you need to be.
How is that? How do you do that on a larger scale? Like I've done, I think Gert was on, I don't know if she's still on, we've done, and that's what she does for a living, is creativity. And I've done things where it's a smaller group, 30-ish, maybe 50, depending. She's done much bigger. And you're impacting them, and it's kind of easier. When you're talking about trying to figure out how to address that on a larger scale with thousands of employees, put some cash in it. Very funny, Wyatt. You never know who's coming on this show. We love you, Wyatt. But how do you get it? How do you get it so that it gets to that level without being watered down, where it makes the same impact as if you and I were having the conversation and you were showing me that box? It's a little different when you've got thousands of employees you're trying to make this impression on.
Yeah, I think in some respects it almost goes back to that video I was just showing you, which we won't go into now before the session started, right? If one person stands up to try and make the change, it can influence many, and it can have that ripple effect. But it's more than that. It's about how we partner with our clients up front to really understand the root cause of the challenge, and then talk about how it's going to be owned within the organisation and how leadership is going to show up. Because it's not just about us coming in and doing what we're good at, it's about us coming in and doing it together. And therefore talking about how does it impact at each level, what does that need to look like, and then also what will you do to maintain it after we have sort of moved out as well. So every approach is different really from that perspective.
We have to, you have to cater it,
and
right?
It takes time, and let's be clear, there's no silver bullet,
Right. I wish there was, but there's not.
Right.
All right, so how do you do this and still, like, and you can tell because everything's authentic on here, you can't fake it on live. What's great about Dan is that this is how he just is. He's excited about what he does, passionate, kind-hearted, really easy to get along with for somebody who obviously has a much bigger left brain than I have. How do you deal with that and still keep it real, like at home and in your personal life? Because I think a lot of times entrepreneurs, we get all caught up and then we want to bring it home or we don't want to bring it home. Either way, it's not a good thing. Yeah. It definitely takes a village to build an empire. It takes a village to take care of Ted, Monica, for the record. So how do you handle that? Because I'm sure that it's hard to shut it off when you get home.
Yeah.
Or sometimes, like with Stacy, with my wife, she's like, "Well, talk to me," and I'm all talked out. Yeah. I don't want to talk anymore. And she's like, you save it for all. And she's right. I save it for all of the stuff I have to do, and then when I get home. So how do you balance?
Yeah, so I think one of the key things is having an awareness of yourself, and I'm not necessarily, I mean, it's a bit of emotional intelligence, but I'm talking about just more aware, first of all, just how you're feeling. So I know when I walked in today, I know Ted's been busy. I was here early this morning having a meeting, and I think the first thing I said to you, Ted, was how you feeling? You've had a busy day, and is the tank full? And you're like, Dan, I've still got gas, because I just wanted to check, because I was conscious that you've had a busy day, and I feel privileged to be on this show today. So is there anything I need to do just to get you fired up and
that was very sweet.
So just conscious of how you were feeling. But I have a great wife, 13 years we've been married, and I have 2 great daughters, Lexi and Lacey. So it's finding the balance. Lacey, yeah.
Love it. It's good.
And it's not always easy. There's times where that balance can get out of kilter, but then it's recognizing when it has and just trying to take the foot off for a short period of time again, just to get the rebalance. I think sometimes people can be almost too quick to judge when they talk about work and life balance.
Yes, they do.
It's about, do you feel balanced yourself, and how is that serving you and the people who are important to you? And sometimes it maybe has to be a bit more work, and sometimes it maybe has to be a bit more life.
You have to figure out the balance, right? And there's no easy answer, and there's no answer. Even if you find it, it may change. That's the thing I've learned over time, is that what I needed and the balance I needed when the kids were younger is completely different than what I need now. Yeah. It doesn't mean that I don't have needs, that I need the balance. I need to have my life and I need to have my work life. Yeah. They all kind of go in together, but you still have to figure out, all right, where's my point? Yeah. a lot of times Stacy's tired when we get home, when she gets home too.
Yeah.
So by the time I get home tonight at, let's say, 6:30, she's going to be already exhausted.
Yeah.
And but you still have to make an effort. I think in relationships you do. And I think a lot of people, like, they'll see the show and they're like, oh, Ted, I actually had somebody yesterday say, you must have the most amazing wife. Okay, so I do. But is she okay with you being out out this late and there's other women here? So in my world, that's not even a thought process.
No.
Like, it doesn't even come into play. But it's funny because I would imagine that a lot of relationships are like that. If you have a wife or a husband, a spouse, partner who's out working and you're trying to figure out how to balance, it's interesting. And especially your travel, that's really what I was going to get to. So you travel a lot. But what's great is the advent of having FaceTime and things like that. Ryan says, work to live, don't live to work. That's right. I think and he has, Dan obviously has a passion for what he does. Yeah. So it feeds him, so you get fed it differently from that than you do from your family.
Yeah, absolutely. It's about finding a balance on what's important to you and what you value. You know, sometimes I came home the other evening and my 8-year-old was like, can we play bat and ball? And it's like 7 p.m, I've been up since 6 a.m. And you know, sometimes like, yeah, sure, why not, right? It's just sometimes recognising when you do need to take the foot off. But you know that yourself, and if you communicate well with your family, they'll know and they'll tell you when you need to take the foot off as well. That's a great point.
The communication's so important.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's really critical. All right, so what am I missing so far? What are we not talking about? Because what I want people to know is that what you do can be, I really wanted people to understand that there's scales here. So Dan can be talking to a giant corporation and still talk to an individual and then everything in between. And so not that that's what you do in business, but you're very good at communicating the things that I think people need to hear. And I love the tools that you have. Yeah. I like the tools. I like when I listen to you occasionally share with people what you do. I feel a lot better about what you do, by the way, now. I kind of get it, right? It only took 3 years, multiple conversations. But I think it's so important. It's you basically really are a people business.
Yeah, we're
a relationship and people business.
Very people-centric.
Isn't that interesting? Because until tonight, I didn't understand that. I really thought you were in accounting numbers. You're looking at the bottom line. I'm sure that plays a part in it. Yeah. But if people first, I forget what you said, but something like that.
Keep it simple, make it real, and people first.
And people first is so important when you're out there. So what can somebody do if I have a business owner out there right now, maybe it's a small business owner, could be just an entrepreneur. What are some of the basic things, like when you have a first meeting, and I know you have a lot of those meetings here at the club, what are you trying to, what kind of pointers or tips maybe can you give them? Are there things that you normally give everybody? It's a regular thing, a belief, a mantra that you try to help people and impart on people?
Yeah, I think you tend to find it's human nature to sometimes almost make the worst of a situation or think badly of where somebody's maybe at. So we'll sometimes try and make sure we play a balanced view. We're not going to sugarcoat anything, we'll tell it how it is. But sometimes we find people's starting point can sometimes be maybe overly negative. Sometimes it's a bit of human nature. But we'll just tend to talk to people and actually just listen more first of all. So in our first meetings, we're not trying to sell anything. We're trying to see if it's right for us as much as it's right for you. Because sometimes we do have to walk away as well because maybe it's not just right. We're not the right people. But we'll do anything from a half-day session with somebody to help them understand where they are and maybe where they want to be, all the way through to possibly doing 12-month development or strategic programs for them. So in that first session, really, we just want to learn more about you. What are your ambitions and aspirations? No matter where you sit in an organisation, and no matter how small or big that organisation is, just what journey are you on? Where are you now, and where are you heading to? And share a bit about what we do, and just see if there's that natural fit where we can help each other.
I love that. All right, so we're going to share all of Dan's contact information, how you can reach out to him. He will share his thesis that he has to the left over here. If you'd like it via email, what we were going to talk about. That's why I'm quickly scan it while I'm doing this, to make sure I didn't miss anything.
I'm just thinking we could extend for another 30 minutes. Oh, we could. I'm enjoying this too much.
Well, it's good, right?
Yeah,
it's good stuff. Whenever you have somebody who's authentic like Dan, it's so easy to have a conversation. And that's what you want when you're consulting with someone, building a business relationship or personal relationship with somebody. You got to figure out if that meets your it's got a little, I usually have this little alarm that goes off if it's not the right fit, but that's age, that is long time experience. And so it's really cool to be with somebody who's so genuine and kind.
I appreciate that.
All right, so let's talk about mentors. Mentors are super important for the TED Show and TED's community. We all have them, whether you believe it or not. I was telling that story earlier about somebody who looked at me and said, I have never had a mentor. Okay. But give us a mentor or two, somebody who's helped you along the way, maybe somebody you look to. Give a shout out.
Yeah, great. Just a couple of quick ones then. I want to start with the Orlando business community. I think, to have moved here from, literally from more or less the other side of the world, we might speak, similar language, but there's a lot of cultural differences. And I just can't say enough just about what a great community it is. There's always things we can work on as a collective, but just such a welcoming place, and we massively appreciate and value that. And we tell the story to everybody across the US as we're working out there. Champagne, is that for us?
It's 5 o'clock, that's why.
Probably a couple of other people. There's a guy called David Bell who I met about a decade ago who works at a university in Indiana. And we swapped books whilst we were queuing for a restaurant, and he gave me this book called The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho.
It's an amazing book.
It's one of those books, right, you'll either love it or you won't. It's very much one side or the other, but it's really shaped and defined the way I approach life. It's better to almost it's better to try and not regret than not regret trying at all.
Right.
So it's a great book. So shout out to David Bell. I pretty much packed up and sold everything in the UK and moved to the US because you once gave me a book 10 years ago.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, there's a guy called Mark Hancock who gave me a chance when I was a very young manager in the bank. At 23-year-old, he gave me a chance to be a director. He supports a really bad soccer team. I've got to get that in back in the UK, but that aside, he's a great guy. And obviously my parents, who brought me up to be very humble, very appreciative, and that's why I'm thankful for where I've got to so far today.
You're a joy to have on, Dan.
Appreciate it.
Entwistle, guys. All right, so reach out to him. You can tell the way he is now is the way he is always, which is why I love talking to him, because there's no change in Dan. Your character should not fluctuate that much. We all have moods, don't get me wrong. So thanks for being on the show. You've been a joy. Thank you guys for tuning in to 3 shows today. It was an amazing day, and I loved ending it with Dan. Reach out to him. Seriously, learn more about what he's doing and what he's teaching the world and all that wisdom he's imparting on the world. Thank you guys. Thanks, Dan.
Appreciate it.
We love you guys. See you soon.
All the best, everyone.